Welcome back to another episode of Animal of the Week, National Geographic. Today we will discuss one of the most powerful and intelligent aquamarine animals, the orca. Orcas, you may have had the opportunity to see an orca in the award-winning movie Free Willy, or perhaps you had the opportunity to see one at SeaWorld. Today, we'll take a deep dive into the life of an orca, and then we'll take a jump into the behavior of an orca, and finally, we'll have a look at some of the most famous orcas. Let's jump right into it. Orcas give birth every 3 to 10 years after a 17-month pregnancy. They tend to nurse for 2 years, and then the orca either goes on its own into a new pod or it stays into the pod it was born into. Orcas have a very strong connection to their pod, and they communicate through something called echolocation. These are just distinctive noises that the orcas can hear with thousands of feet of distance underwater. They can use this to describe shape, size, and location of their prey. Now we will look into some of the behaviors of an orca. Orcas actually have very intense feelings, which are actually considered much more complex than ours. They go through depressive episodes and stages of grief, just like we do. Orcas are much smarter than many of the other marine animals. Many scientists say that they've caught orcas showing off to the tourists and the boats that go to examine them. Female orcas tend to show off their babies, while male orcas tend to show off their prey or what they may have caught. The female orcas then run the pods, while the male orcas just go catch the prey. Now we will look at some of the most famous orcas. You may have had the opportunity to see the award-winning movie Free Willy. The actor that played Willy is actually named Kiko. Kiko was captured in 1993 and taken to Mexico and was practicing tricks, and he did shows. After that, he was then taken for the movie Free Willy, where he then practiced until 1979, where he then was taken back to Norway, and he lived until 2003 when he died of pneumonia. His life was nearly cut in half with all the captivity he was born into. Next is the most famous orca of all, Tilikum. You may have heard of Tilikum and the documentary Blackfish. Tilikum was the buzz of 2010 when he killed 3 people at SeaWorld, the most famous being Don Branshaw. Don and Tilikum had a very strong relationship, working together daily in shows at SeaWorld. They had worked together day after day for years before Tilikum had finally had his last straw. Tilikum was working just like any other day, but then Dawn was having trouble with him towards the end of one of her shows. Tilikum then pulled Dawn by her ponytail, drowning her under the water. He pulled her hundreds of feet under the water, and she then soon passed away. Tilikum also killed 2 other people, one breaking in and another SeaWorld trainer. But those aren't as known as Dawn. This show went on, and many people saw the tears that were brought to Dawn's eyes as she died in the hands of Tilikum. Today we went over some of the facts of life of an orca. We went into the behavior of an orca, and finally, we looked at some of the most famous orcas. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Animal of the Week on National Geographic.